Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I have this car grill mesh here that I'm going to be putting down, hopefully behind this grill. As you can see, there's pretty large gaps there. And I once saw somebody on the forums saying that they had a rock go through there. It's a pretty sizable gap, honestly. But normally when those louvers back there are opened, you can see the radiator. And I don't want to have to pay $500 or $600 for a new radiator if I can spend 10 or 15 bucks in an hour and hopefully prevent it. So that's what my goal is today. I don't know if there's a place on the back of the bumper to actually attach it. So we're gonna find out. So removing the tub, super simple. There's 7 bolts. So to start off, if you come down here, stick your finger in and lift straight up. So you got your first 2 just on the sides there. And underneath this carpet, there's 2 more. You've got 1 under each of these little things here. Then the last one is up by the filler cap here. And to remove this is super simple. You can just grab it here, lift straight up, and there's the 7th one. So I'm gonna take out all 7 of those really quick here, and we're gonna pull out the tub. Apologize in advance. I'm not super good at filming and working at the same time, and I don't really have a place or a stand to hold my phone. So we're just gonna do this together. Okay, so one thing is, all 7 of these bolts are the same length. These ones are kind of a pain to get out of here, so I just leave them. But yeah, if you just pull out the other 5 and leave them in the tub, super easy. The first thing we need to do after that is we need to remove this air intake inlet. I don't know what it's called, but you can see the 4 plastic white things there. Those hold it in. You can remove it by just pulling straight up. Just like that. I'm actually gonna leave it in the tub here. And then the next thing is unplugging right there where the wire meets. This is for the emergency release. Oops. Emergency release right there. That's the light for it and the actual mechanism. So we're gonna go ahead and unplug that. It just pulls right out. There's no clips or anything holding it in place. Next up, this seems kind of daunting, but it's pretty easy. Your tub is still held in by some pressure clips. I think that's what they're called. But all you need to do is start at the top, grab it. You can just grab it right here, lift up. And now you can get your hand behind it underneath. And just go and a couple more. Do that to one side, then do that to the other, and it should just lift straight out. And this is what you're greeted with. So you can see these are the little clips right here that are holding the front tub in that you're pulling it out of. So anyways, you can hear my car is actually still running. I've got it plugged in. Don't really recommend you do this while the vehicle's plugged in, but yeah, do as I say, not as I do. So the next thing is removing the front bumper, front fascia, whatever you want to call it. Also pretty easy to do. You've got all of these 10mm bolts here along the front. Then you've got a few more that are behind here. I don't really have good lighting. I'll get better light here in a second. You've got some push clips that hold the wheel well lining in place, and then a few more bolts back here underneath. And one up here, if I remember right. It's been a while since I've done this. I'm just doing it again. Okay, on both sides, you're gonna have these push fasteners that you need to remove. Easiest way to do it, because it's behind each wheel, oops, is to turn the wheel the opposite direction. So I'm on the right side, I turned it left. Now I can easily, oops, get some light, easily reach those 3. And again, this is on both sides. I'll do that real fast. All right, so once you get those removed, you can just pull this wheel well arch lining back. So, probably won't be able to put this on video, but you've got 1 bolt just right back down in there. And then there's 3 more up at the top. They're all, again, 10mm. Not super difficult to get to, but you do need to make sure you get all 4 of them. 3 on top, 1 at the bottom. I should note, you're gonna need a wrench to do this. You're not gonna be able to fit a drill in there. So here's the first one. You can see it's just right at the edge there. Well, you can't really see it, but you can see where I'm at. So I'm just gonna try to loosen it and then go to the other 3. I need to correct myself. So the one at the bottom here is just a nut, and then the three at top are bolts. So there's one, I've already pulled one out. You look straight up here, come on. You look straight up, you can see the hole of the one I already took out. And there's two more. You're gonna take out all three of those bolts. I'm gonna be honest with you right now. The hardest part, every time I've taken off my bumper, and I've done it more times than I care to admit, is always the bolts that are up here. They're just awkward to get to. They're kind of a pain in the butt. You can use an extension, that kind of makes it easier, but realistically, you just have to suck it up and figure it out. So overall, it's not a hard project. It's just, if you get frustrated, that's the spot you're gonna get frustrated on. And once you get past that, it's not a big deal. All right, so you've gotten the nut out of the bottom there, the three bolts from the top here, all these bolts up here, and then the nut and the three bolts on the other side as well. The last part we have to do here, oops, I just got my light, is under the bumper here. Got some push clips. You just need to remove all of the ones that are up along where the bumper meets this plastic shield. So I think there's 10 of them, but yeah, pretty easy. Doesn't take very long. Just like any push clips, you're just gonna loosen it, pop it out, and save them for the side. Okay, I know I already mentioned it, but I wanted to say it again. All of the 10mm bolts that you will do in this whole removal are all the exact same. So you don't have to worry about which ones go up here, which ones go in the tub and connect down there. You don't have to worry about that. Same thing for the push pins that go on the bottom. They're all the exact same size. I was right, there are 10 of them across. The ones that you put into, this is the only difference, is the ones that go into the wheel well lining. They are a little bit shorter, than the ones that go in at the bottom. But you'll have 6 of those. So 10 long ones go along the bottom, 6, you've got 3 on each side that go in the wheel wells, and then you've got the one nut. But other than that, every single one of the 10mm bolts are the exact same. So this is the part that some people find scary. Just the way that this is held in, it feels kind of like you're breaking it. I mean, I'm sure you could, but I've pulled this off probably 7 times. Never have had an issue. So you're gonna start at both ends. Just choose one. I'm just gonna pull that out there. You can see I just grabbed and pulled. Okay, stubs right here. I'm gonna need 2 hands for it. Yeah, I'm gonna need 2 hands, but what you're gonna do is you're just gonna pull straight out. Like staying at the front of the car, you're gonna pull it straight towards you. So these are the bugger clips. They go right in to here. They just shove right on there. They are tough to do, but once you get to this point, the right side is free, I guess the driver's side, right side looking at it. The left side here, you do have one cable there. That's what connects everything. All of your lights, all of your ultrasonic sensors, if you have them, everything. So you're gonna wanna come over here and undo that. So super simple to do. That little gray tab right there, you're gonna push that down, well, over towards the wires, and then they just separate. Now that we've got that undone, we are free to pull the bumper off, and hopefully there's a place to attach this mesh. Okay, I kind of skipped a step, but remove the bumper. My fear now, because there's no place to actually attach this, is that if I drill holes into this and then use zip ties to hold the mesh, I've already cut the mesh to size. If I do that, will this actually make the correct contact it needs to here, or am I gonna create a bit of a gap? I obviously don't want any concerns with that not sitting flush or anything like that. So I'm getting a little nervous here, but we're gonna still give it a go. On second thought, I just was test fitting it, and this is rubber, so this has some flex. I think we're gonna be okay. So here goes. I really hope that I don't tear this or anything. Okay, I got my mesh cut down to size. I just used little angle couple snips for it. I have these tiny little 4-inch zip ties that will fit through these holes here. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm actually gonna drill holes probably every 3 or 4 inches or something, I don't know yet, along this bottom here and along this top. Obviously, I'm doing it here because I don't want it to show through on the other side, and that's a bit of a lip. So I'm going to obviously avoid the sensors and such. But yeah, I just want to put it in a place that won't leave holes that are visible on the outside. And I want to do enough that that's not going to go anywhere, but also I don't want to do overkill where it's like I used 80 zip ties to hold in this thing that weighs, 2 ounces. So we're going to go from here. And these zip ties are tiny, so I've got this tiny little drill bit here. Honestly, I don't think anybody would think twice about the holes that I'm going to put in, just because they're going to be so small. I'm going to try to space them evenly. But yeah, a buddy of mine recommended heating this up and trying to melt the mesh into the plastic, and I was not wanting to do that. So here we go. Okay, so I just finished drilling all those little holes. I tried to keep them even top and bottom. I wanted them to look, professional. And then I'm about to throw some mesh on it, so that's not gonna look professional, but hey, we're just going and trying something new here. Okay, so learn from my mistakes. I pre-drilled those holes, and then they don't always perfectly line up with the mesh, which makes it tough because these are just tiny little zip ties, so they don't really have much give. Anyways, what I've been doing is finding where I had the hole before, and that's kind of hard to see on camera, and just creating a new hole that does line up with the mesh. It's made it way easier. So again, I'm learning as I go, but yeah, don't pre-drill all the holes. Okay, got that all done. Now I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna just snip off the little tails. I know it's not visible to anybody, but seeing as it's gonna be mating up against the little rubber stuff here, I don't want to have excess anything. I want it to be able to seal as well as possible. I'm already interrupting it, so here we go. I'm just gonna brag and say that actually looks pretty dang clean. So yeah, props to myself. And again, this is not something you'd be able to see from the other side. Where I drilled through does not show on the other side. So, and then push these little nubs, push them so they were down and out of the way. Now that they're all pushed out of the way, this is what it looks like. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. We're about to have the moment of truth of me trying to slap it back on and make sure it works. Doesn't cause too much interference with the rubber here. Putting this back on, don't forget to plug in that first, or only, I should say, wiring harness. And then it all just pushes back into place. So start with the beginning here, or the middle, excuse me. These ones, you're gonna wanna push these into there, then to the other side. And these just slide in underneath the headlight. And these ones slide in, whoo. These slide in right between. I mean, it's pretty obvious because they are body panels and they meet together. So while you're doing it, it might not wanna sit flush. Right up here didn't wanna sit flush because these down here, we're not going in. I don't know if you can really see that, but it's the screw that the nut goes on. You're just gonna make sure that those line up as you put it on. It should pretty much fall into place. And then, a moment of truth. This looks pretty good in my opinion. I am gonna have to spend more time making sure that it's not too clogged or anything like that, because not as much goes through, but I would much rather this than a rock or something. So yeah, everything else is the reverse of what we've done, and I'm just gonna put it all back together real quick. As I'm putting everything back together, one tip that I always like to recommend is make sure that this wire is out, okay? If you don't, and if you pop everything back in and then put all the bolts back in, you're not gonna get it back out. So just reach in, grab it. If it's tucked down underneath, just lift the tub up really quick, pull it out. It's gonna save you a bunch of time and hassle. Learn from my mistakes. Everything's all done, reassembled. Looks good. So you might be wondering, Cam, why not just go on Amazon and get a grill guard insert? A couple reasons. One, I didn't really like the styles that I was seeing on there. Two, I wanted something that was going to be a little bit more permanent and didn't just pop in, possibly pop out. And three, I like to learn how to do this kind of stuff myself. So it's just kind of a fun little adventure. Figure, why not? I pulled off my bumper a few times before. Might as well give it another go and see if I could do it. And I was successful, hence this video. So thank you so much for watching. Hope you learned something. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Other than that, hope you have a great rest of your day.